समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा?
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
What explains Donald Trump's sudden and newfound love for Pakistan? That is the question that we will try and answer on this program today. This even as Donald Trump claims that the 50% tariffs slapped on India have been a big blow for Moscow. These statements are coming only a couple of days ahead of Trump's big meeting with Vladimir Putin. But in the last 24 hours has come another significant announcement. And this announcement has come as Pakistan's Field Marshal and Army Chief Asim Munir is in the United States of America. And that is the recognition of the BLA, the Balochistan Liberation Army, as a designated terror group. It is the timing that has caught the attention of analysts, not just in India, but across the world, those who study the region. All of it seems to point to the fact that Trump, for some reason, is being soft on Pakistan. And that is an understatement. For India, that has stood up to American pressure, that has refused to be bullied, that has asserted our sovereignty, this presents all manners of new challenges. And that's something we'll try and get to the bottom of on this program. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo Story. On the program today, we look at Donald Trump's newfound love fest with Pakistan. What explains it? Is it business interests? As some have suggested, cryptocurrency relations between Trump's family and Pakistan's crypto council? Is it that Pakistan's been more successful in hiring a lobbying firm run by Trump's former bodyguard? Or is Trump doing all of this to spite India? Because the fact is that Pakistan has asked for a Nobel Prize for Donald Trump, and India has rubbished his claims of mediation, acknowledging that while the Americans made phone calls in Operation Sindoor, that can hardly be compared to a seat at the dialogue table. India has asserted sovereignty. Pakistan has sucked up. But is that now yielding dividends, at least in the short term, for Pakistan? And what does that mean for India? India has begun a cautious process of rapprochement with China. But guess what? Trump has also not penalized China in the way he has India for buying oil from Russia. China, in fact, purchases more oil from Russia than India does. But J.D. Vance, America's vice president, has said to Fox News that the China relationship is much more complicated and it goes well beyond the issue of Russian oil. So why doesn't that apply to India? What is actually going on between India and America, between Trump and Pakistan, between Trump and Russia, and between Trump and China? Those are the big meta questions where we try and answer on this program today with a very distinguished panel of experts. Let me bring them up on the program. Now joining me is Kushal Mehra, who's of course a political analyst, also a podcast host. Always good to have you with us, Kushal. Welcome to the program. Also joining us is General Satish Dua, who's of course a military veteran, former General Officer Commanding of the 15 Corps, and also the general who led the surgical strikes after Uri. And also joining us is veteran diplomat Ambassador Dilip Sinha, who has been actually arguing for some days now that, listen, if you've got to massage Trump's ego, just do it. The relationship is bigger than Donald Trump between India and the US. But is this now going beyond that phase where it can, in fact, be repaired quite so simply? Before I open this up for the panel, let me play out the first comment that we have in the last few hours from Trump. This saying that the 50% tariff on India is a big blow, not just for India, according to Trump, but also for Moscow. Take a look.
They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the president of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy oil from Russia. That was a big blow. And then they say, gee, he wasn't so tough. Nobody else would have done that. And I haven't stopped there. I mean, look, I was all set to do things far bigger than that, but I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right? So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the fact that, I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. I also gave the javelins. Do you ever hear of a javelin? Javelin is called a tank buster. They say that Obama gave them sheets and I gave them javelins.
So that's the dynamic playing out between Washington and Moscow. But in the meantime, India is watching carefully what is happening vis-a-vis Pakistan and Washington. While Asim Munir is there, his second trip in 2 months, Mr. Munir, Field Marshal Munir, I guess I should say, is reported to have made some pretty crazy statements, a nuclear threat against half the world, comments that compare India to a Mercedes, his own country to a gravel-carrying dump truck, and other such bizarre comments, including repeating what his DGISPR said on record to The Economist less than a week ago about striking India this time from the east, a clear reference to Bangladesh, where too India's relations are strained. While Munir is in the United States, has come the announcement of the BLA being designated a terror group. Let's open this up now. Ambassador Dilip Sinha, I'll start with you. Timing is everything in diplomacy. Things that may not attract the same attention at a different time become noteworthy for the circumstances in which they take place. How do you see what's happened with the BLA? I'm not saying that India holds any brief for the BLA, but the timing, once again, the fact that it's coming weeks after the TRF was also designated a terror group. How do you see it, Dilip Sinha?
Well, as you said earlier, that everybody is baffled. I'm also baffled. It's very difficult to explain these various developments because there's so many internal contradictions. You mentioned the TRF being designated as a terror organization and the BLA also being designated as a terror organization. Now, there's a huge difference between the two, but that is how Trump sees it. Now, what's most interesting is that right now, the person with whom Trump seems to be getting along the best is our friend Field Marshal. No other leader of a country, if you can call, well, he's the leader of Pakistan, has been to America twice to massage the ego of Donald Trump. And he's been given he's having a field day in America, making all kinds of statements. And now America has gone ahead and declared the BLA to be a terrorist organization, which is a big deal for Pakistan. So it certainly is, as you said, Pakistan is drawing a lot of dividend from this relationship. Which way Donald Trump is taking America now in this particular region, we don't know. Because they are, as everybody says, that the relationship that India and the US had developed over the last 25 years, that is in jeopardy right now. I hope it is not, but that seems to be the case. And globally, the situation is no better because the Europeans are concerned about what Trump is doing with Russia, with Putin, and they are rallying behind Zelensky. Then you have the US-China relationship that's equally has a lot of contradictions in it. So it is a very difficult time globally, and I think we just have to, as you said, keep looking at the situation, keep observing it, and try and strengthen our own economy. But it's very difficult to understand what is happening between Pakistan and the US right now.
What does it look like to you? I mean, it looks like almost like two suitors in a new phase of honeymoon. Like, what does it look like to you? How would you describe it, Ambassador Sinha?
Well, it is a mix of everything. It's a mix of personal gain that Pakistan is offering to Donald Trump and his family. It's clearly a mix of some geostrategic facilities that Pakistan has promised America, including some access to some minerals, real or imaginary, because the oil reserves, for example, may not actually be there in Pakistan. And then you have the personal ego that the Field Marshal is massaging of Trump by proposing that he be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. So it's a mix of all this that Pakistan is playing on with Trump and drawing the benefit of it.
Yeah. Let me take this to General Dua. General Dua, in terms of India's security challenges, how do we read this, right? Because we have just had a military conflict with Pakistan in which China has played not just the role of weapons supplier, but also, as we now know from the army on record, of actively being involved in providing live inputs to China. On the other hand, we have increasing strains with America. An America that seems to be bafflingly soft on Pakistan. How do you read this? General Dua.
Yeah, thank you. Barkha, can I just dwell for 30 seconds on the question of what is happening between, or shall I say, why is US so unhappy with India?
Okay.
I think the first thing is, to my mind, India did not agree to buy F-35. The US wanted us to buy F-35. We've not taken a decision. Su-57 from Russia are also on the table. We wanted them to get into a joint production with us and not an outright buy. I am told the Russians are amenable to a joint production. Be that as it may, so that's one big thing, because the state, the US, actually runs on these issues. The MIC, military industrial complex, is far more powerful. Then the other aspect of India not agreeing to, India has rubbished, if I may put it bluntly, rubbished Trump's claim of having brokered peace between India and Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. Whereas Pakistan, we just heard and we know how Pakistan has recommended, the Pakistan Army Chief has recommended him for a Nobel Peace Prize. So those are two extremes. And lastly, I think it's also a growing unease with India's autonomous stands that we've been taking on different issues. You start from S-400, when US did not want us to buy S-400 from Russia, when they threatened us with Katsa, but we decided we will go ahead. When it was a question of Russian sanctions on Russia, we went ahead and bought Russian oil, and on. We could talk about a few more steps that India has taken to assert its own strategic autonomy. So I think all this is also a rankling, or is not going down well with President Trump. Okay, to your question now, how does it impact our security? Now, you see, for instance, the first thing that we've done is we've put a couple of defense purchases or procurements or acquisitions from US on the hold. We have, in the sense that P-8 aircrafts, and there are some other platforms. We say, even Boeing's, we are putting it on hold. So that is going to impact our defense requirement, our security requirements. Also, on the other hand, the arrangements that we have with the Quad are going to suffer. And that is something that should be a concern for us. At the present moment, we're not seeing it, because all three countries in the Quad, other than the US has slapped some tariffs, and the relations are rocky. Okay. Having said that, we have unease on both our borders with China and Pakistan. With Pakistan, it's a very volatile relationship. But the way the way on one hand, what the Pakistan Army Chief has been saying, his speeches in April, before the 4 or 5 days before the Pahalgam attack, and then his speech over here in Florida, what he said, he's threatening us, threatening India, that he will start attacking from east, and when we start doing something on our rivers, they will bomb our facilities and things like that. We will take half the world down. These kind of things are obviously he's encouraged and emboldened by his really newfound sort of encouragement from President Trump and the US. So Pakistan is making such irresponsible statements. Last time when Pakistan Army Chief made such a rant of a speech, sorry for using that phrase, was 4 or 5 days before Pahalgam, and then Pahalgam happened. So I think India needs to take every word of his with caution. We need to sort of, we should never let our guard down, never take this lightly, and continue to gather our intelligence to be aware of what else could happen, especially when, on one hand, President Trump is making such irresponsible statements across the world on different field, and on the other hand, we have the Field Marshal making such statements. I think there is need to concern.
I totally agree with you, General Dua. You know, some people were suggesting that, oh, Munir made these comments in a boastful, rhetorical way at a closed-door private dinner. I think we forget, that the remarks before Pahalgam were also made to an overseas Pakistani event. And these remarks, if they are as reported, because there's no video available of them, they have been summarized and sort of translated, a lot of them from Urdu. If these remarks are taken at face value, then you are looking at a very emboldened, aggressive Pakistani army chief, and it is also important.
Allow me just one sentence to what you said. You know, this morning, I'm forgetting who said this. It's an American senator or American somebody who said this in the news. I saw this.
Osama bin Laden in a suit.
That sums up everything.
Former Pentagon official who actually said that this is like Osama bin Laden in a suit. Michael Rubin. Let me bring that banner up. Yeah, bin Laden in a suit. This is Michael Rubin, an ex-Pentagon official. Let me bring in Kushal at this point. Kushal, notwithstanding the surrealness that the BCCI is yet to call off a proposed cricket match between India and Pakistan, and it is surreal. You know, there are larger security concerns here. There is some bizarre, and as Ambassador Dilip Sinha says, it's baffling, bizarre love fest between Trump and Munir. But we know Trump to be transactional, not sentimental. What do you think is going on?
I would be the first one to say that I've tried to reach out to many people in Washington, D.C., and I've asked a simple question that who's in Trump's ear? And everybody says who's not in Trump's ear. The answer is there are just too many people talking to Trump. Trump's style has this pattern. It's always about headline management. What has happened is, since the Epstein files thing was a major Trump thingy before the election, that I'm going to, do the dump of the Epstein files. Everybody's going to know. JD Vance was going on podcasts and saying that. Kash Patel has said that in the past. And even that lady, I forgot her name, I'm really sorry, who was supposed to be the one appointed for that very job. And all these people have said that. I think his base is really mad because they were really, pushed up on the Epstein files thing. Now he comes and says it's a hoax. Elon did not help by saying Trump's name is in the Epstein files. I don't know how many people remember that. Now, everything since then for Trump is a massive confusion campaign, is my understanding. It's always about creating new headlines, no matter what happens. For Trump, other countries don't matter. They're just tools that he uses in his headline management strategy.
So what is he using Pakistan as a tool? What is how is Pakistan useful?
He thinks he's not using Pakistan. He's headline managing India. Pakistan is just one of those things that he needs to manage the headline for India.
Yeah.
And he'll do what he wants. If you try to rationalize what Donald Trump says or does, I think, a lot of people have made comments like, oh, you read The Art of the Deal. Bhai, maine bhi padhi. Koi aisi koi special book nahi hai wo. Badi ordinary सी book hai. Pata nahi kya logon ne Donald Trump ko ek pata nahi bahut bada ye bana diya hai. I mean, the man has gone bankrupt so many times. He comes back because, the Trump brand name is there. Apprentice.
But see, it is going beyond headline management when the BLA gets designated a terror group. Why Munir is in the US?
Because he has to bring India in the headline right now. India is the flavor of the season. How long will India remain the flavor of the season? Trump is used to every country just kissing the ring. Whether it was Japan, whether it was Vietnam, whether it was everyone. There are 2-3 countries that are not kissing the ring. India is one of them. One of them. And surprisingly, the country I'm sitting in right now is also not kind of kissing the ring. Canada is also not kissing the ring right now. The premier of Ontario has again started saying all sorts of things about Trump. So the point is, the ones who don't kiss the ring, they get extra attention of Trump, because then the bully comes out. So it's headline management, and if you don't bow down, you're going to suffer. India just has to wait for this man to go, is my understanding. 3 saal aise baithe rahe.
But can India wait that long? Can that be a strategy?
Do we have a choice? Tell me, do you have a choice?
So let me get Dilip Sinha to respond, Ambassador Sinha to respond to that. Do we just sit there and wait for Trump
I don't
to
think
go?
we can afford to do that, simply because we have a major problem. Now, we must go back to, apart from all the tantrums that Trump is throwing up, we must go back to the original problem that he started with, which was the trade deficit. Now, the fact is that the WTO had been facing this problem but had ignored it to its peril. The fact is that international trade had become so unbalanced that it was unsustainable. Now, forget about the global level. At the bilateral level, India has a large surplus with America, which is a problem, and Trump has looked at it. And India has a huge deficit with China. Now, we also have been ignoring this problem, because we used to earn the dollars in America and Europe and then spend them in China and Russia now because of the oil. But Russia, of course, once the oil goes, then that trade will come down to a minuscule amount. But with China, we have a huge deficit. Now, we cannot ignore that, because if we lose the American market, and we are going to suffer a lot in the American market, I'm hearing about, that our export, we're talking about protecting agriculture. We export $400 million worth of rice, basmati rice, to America. But if that market goes, and it will go, because we cannot compete at 50% tariff with Vietnam, Thailand, and Pakistan, which means who will suffer with that? Our farmers will suffer. Now, we cannot ignore that fact. So if we lose the American market and we suffer even $20-30 billion loss of market in the US, how do we pay for the imports from China? We have to think of that. So we can't sit back for 3 years and wait for nothing, and we just let things drift. We have to address this problem, because the international trade has been far too long.
Kushal, I don't know if you were making the comment rhetorically, but I think you wanted to respond to Ambassador
But the
Sinha. Go
point
ahead.
is, when you sit back, it doesn't mean you don't do ungli from behind. You do ungli from behind. People, I think India has two kinds of people, by and large. I'm not saying Ambassador Sinha is one of them, before somebody misunderstands and misquotes me. By and large, Indians either extremely underestimate their capacity, or by and large, Indians think they are Vishwa Guru on steroids. The reality is, India should know its strengths and weaknesses when it comes to the United States of America. The entire trade figure, the trade imbalance figure between India and America, is slightly off, because what we don't calculate is all the American big tech companies hang on. Jai Mukesh Bhai, Sasta Data, we are the biggest consumer of internet on planet Earth. And American big tech literally lies on us for their numbers. They are all routed through Ireland. Those numbers never come in the trade figures between India and America. Everybody refuses to talk about it. They want to screw us in agriculture. We can screw them in the big tech, and then see what happens. Then see how much America reacts. And by the way, America knows that very well. Let us not underestimate our leverage on America on this issue. I am not saying we should do it. I am saying if America does it, we can also do things. And it's not like हम तो ऐसे मर ही जाएंगे. हम नहीं मरने वाले हैं. इतने भी बुरे हाल नहीं है जितना pretend किया जा रहा है कि हैं. At least because I hang out with tech bros all the time. And I'm talking about serious tech bros, not like छोटे startups, like big startup tech bros. I know how much they are worried कि what if India does something, उनकी पूरी industry collapse हो जाएगी. उनको मालूम है at scale, इस cost पे इस स्किल का टैलेंट सिर्फ इंडिया में अवेलेबल है वर्ल्ड में और किधर अवेलेबल नहीं है. इंडिया बोलते ना हमने बंद कर दिया तो उनकी बैंड बज जाएगी.
There are two aspects to this, right? There's the economic cost on which there can be a debate in a country where 60% of the GDP comes from. Back to General Dua and of course Ambassador Sinan Kushal on that. J.D. Vance, Vice President of the US, makes a very intriguing statement to Fox News. Asked why China has not been penalized for the purchase of Russia oil, he says this.
Significant tariffs on countries like India for buying Russian oil. Are you going to do a similar move to China as well? They're also buying Russian oil.
Well, the president said he's thinking about it, but he hasn't made any firm decisions. Obviously, the China issue is a little bit more complicated because our relationship with China, it affects a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the Russian situation. So the president's reviewing his options and, of course, going to make that decision when he decides. But look, what the president has used tariffs. Tim Cook just this week come in and promise $600 billion of investment to build the iPhone, to build components, to build artificial intelligence data centers right here in the United States of America. We're seeing a manufacturing boom in this country because you have a president who's telling people that if you want to sell to great American consumers, you've got to make it in America and use great American work. It's bringing in a lot of additional revenue, which of course we're using to give tax relief to the American people and make it easier for average Americans to get by. So I think we're doing a lot.
So let's get reactions to this, General Dua. Why is China more complicated? Why is China the relationship that is beyond just the issue of Russian oil? There was a time when the Indo-US relationship would have been described in similar terms, that, tariffs is one part of it, but there's a lot more to the India-US relationship. When you hear Vance saying that, what do you think? I mean, obviously, Trump is looking to make a deal with the Chinese. And so imagine this kind of nightmare scenario for India. When I say nightmare, I just mean it in terms of strategic challenges or strategic from Russia on Ukraine. Trump has a honeymoon phase with Pakistan. India continues to say, and by the way, I'm totally for asserting our sovereignty. So India continues in a defiant assertion of sovereignty to say, listen, we're not going to surrender. We're not going to lie at your feet. But all these other scenarios that I've painted take place.
Sorry. I think it's hidden in the first sentence of when Vice President Vance replied. He said, our relation or dynamic, he said, with China is much more complicated.
Yeah.
And so what do we read? How do we read that? I think he's talking about some very critical supply chains that the US does need from China, which they will not be able to do without.
Right.
So I think without expanding that, we are looking at those critical minerals, metals, essential issues that only China can supply to them without naming the unpronounceable names of this. So that's one aspect. Those supply chains are very vital. On the other hand, I look at it this way: the kind of leeway or the loose rope that he is giving to China, now recently extended to 90 days. So I think between US and India also, we were hearing only very similar noises from coming from the US. I'm sure even President Trump said, I'm sure we are close to a deal. We are going to do a big, beautiful deal and things like that. And the trade talks are still on and there is still time. We used to hear that till this happened, till this tariff to 25 and then 50% happened. I think why it happened is, like I said earlier, India has rankled the US on more than one counts, starting from us, asserting our autonomy from even before Trump era during the S-400 things that I mentioned earlier. And now I read day for yesterday, economic is not my forte, but I read somewhere that 2 days ago that India has signed an arrangement to be starting to do some trade in rupees, things like this. There are so many small things that happen, talking against the way Trump has been talking against BRICS. So I think everything is happening. Plus, to end, I would say, I think we've rankled by Prime Minister Modi taking a very strong stand, and especially about this not having broken India-Pakistan peace. We've actually Trump must be feeling a very sort of, I would feel he would be feeling let down that we could have. I read another comment, gave him a little leeway by saying he may have persuaded Pakistan. And that's why they may have come to us, but we didn't cut him any slack. We just kept saying no. So I think all these.
I think the ship for that sailed when Trump, I personally think, I know Ambassador Sinha thinks otherwise, when Trump made the announcement of the ceasefire before India could, for me, that ship sort of sailed then. If he just kept quiet that day, this may have played out quite differently. But now what, Ambassador Dilip Sinha? On the one hand, you say you're baffled. What's going on between Munir and Trump, right? On the other hand, I know you personally think the relationship is too important to be allowed to drift like this. But what are the real options at this point? If we do not suck up, we do not flatter Trump's ego, and how do we even respond to the fact that Munir is making these kind of reported threats? Yet the next day, what is the headline? The headline is that Pakistan or Munir goes home with the BLA, which is fighting the Pakistan army in Balochistan, which is the biggest security challenge for Munir. Is designated a terror group.
Well, I will leave the BLA part out because Pakistan's internal problem. America was a close ally of Pakistan for 20 years, and in that period, Pakistan's problems actually grew. Osama bin Laden was a creation of America. It wasn't a creation of Pakistan. So America has had a very close relationship with Pakistan, and we have seen that period, dealt with that period. And Pakistan has suffered at that period as a period of low stability for Pakistan itself. Now, the question is, what happens to us vis-a-vis our relations with the big powers? That's what we should be looking at. One is China, one is the US, and one is Russia. Now, with Russia, in any case, Trump will not talk to Putin, and if they come to an agreement, then things may start improving in the Ukraine war. If that happens, we lose Russia will again go back to essentially being a defense relationship and a little bit of trade. Our problems will remain that we are earning our dollars in America and spending them in China. How do we settle that? If America cuts our market, now we can say we'll fight it out. Fine. But when you fight in trade, then both sides suffer. Trump is imposing tariffs. The American public may actually end up paying higher prices for it. We don't know what the impact will be. In the case of India, if we decide to fight on big tech, then we should be prepared for all our WhatsApp and all these internet vanishing. Can we pay that price? We have to decide. We can pay the price. We have fought America all through our long history. And the countries that have developed, remember one thing that's a fact. No country has developed after the Second World War without using the American market. Not Germany, not Japan, not China, not Vietnam. No country has done that. We ignored the US market, and that's where we are at the low income category. So we have to understand that America is our largest market today. China buys $15 billion, but that's smooth feed, that's chicken. Yeah. Let's do that. If China buys more from India, buys another $50 billion worth of goods from India, by all means, I'll say yes, we can have good relations with China. But the fact is that we have to address the problem that Trump has been talking about, and we should do that in the next 1 or 2 years so that our relationship with America becomes a little more balanced. I certainly want our own tech industry to develop, our own manufacturing industry to develop, but all that can happen only if we prevent our own manufacturing from getting deindustrialized by cheap imports from China.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I am totally with you on that last point, but I will bring in Kushal on 2 points. Kushal, you've been making the point that, and some others have also, that this is an opportunity. You kind of now improve your own China's takeover of our markets, because if Trump's behavior is a modern day East India Company, a kind of neo-imperialism, China gets to flex muscles using money. So imperialism comes in many shapes and forms. norms. Let's first understand that. One, I want you to take us back to that day in Canada when you were there. Trump is there at the G20. He leaves early. He goes to Washington. Munir comes for lunch. He wants Modi to come on the same. Happens in that phone call, and it's basically our readout says that Modi tells Trump, India will never accept mediation. We don't, of course, know the tone and tenor of that exchange, and it hasn't been even civil since then, in terms of how Trump is talking.
Oh, yeah, I remember that day so clearly because I was at the Kananaskis resort. The Prime Minister of India was scheduled to meet Zelensky, and we were all just waiting, right?
Yeah.
In that media thingy at the resort, waiting for the Zelensky-Modi talk to finish, and we can report on it. Lo and behold, I'm not going to take the name of someone inside the government. Get a message. भाई ज़ेलेंस्की से नहीं मिल रहे. मैंने बोला क्यों? बोलते नहीं, चाचा का फोन आ गया अमेरिका से, सब कैंसिल. So we did not go well. Trump was expecting Modi ji to go, Malik, आप हमारे अन्नदाता हैं, Malik. India did not do that. The moment India did not do that, and Dua is right. Basically, Trump expected someone to go kiss the ring. Sir, आप बहुत बड़े आदमी हैं, sir, आप पुरुष ही नहीं, आप महापुरुष हैं, क्या कोई है? Let's get real. India is not going to do that. And it's actually now in hindsight, we can trace everything from that call to now. It just went downhill. Janil Dua is absolutely right. I understand Ambassador Sinha's concerns.
Yeah.
I understand his concerns. कि भाई हम क्या करेंगे? But you know, people forget. Before Instagram was a thing in India, people forget most Indians were on TikTok, not on Instagram. Instagram was a thing in America. Instagram को बचाया इंडिया ने जब all the Indians went on Instagram. Because TikTok was shut, every Indian was like, चल नया बकरा मिल गया, वहां जाते हैं. What is stopping India from saying, ठीक है थोड़े दिन के लिए हमको प्रॉब्लम होगी? Are we saying our tech cannot build one equivalent of Instagram? Do people realize China is close to American big tech? Can you tell me one American big tech company that has access to the billion plus? Idea is. So to say that is not a leverage we have is false. That is a leverage we have. We just choose not to exercise it. And I'm not saying we should. And I think a part of Trump's criticism of India is right. And India needs to introspect. क्या कितने tariffs लगाते हैं हम लोग पागल हैं? But it doesn't mean we do not have leverage, and it can't mean that we will get beat by Mr. Trump. It's just ridiculous कि आप अपनी national sovereignty को ही compromise कर दे, कोई भी आए आपके ऊपर. And third, this is the time to talk to Canada. If we are worried about the critical minerals, why aren't we talking to Canada? People forget Canada also has one of the largest supplies of critical minerals on planet Earth. Let's talk to the Canadians. You know, Mark Carney is very much interested in talking to us right now. Ambassadors have come back now. Ours, I think, महीने आने वाले हैं, मगर कनाडा वाला आ चुका है दिल्ली में. कनाडा वाला आ चुका है दिल्ली में. That I know. The Canadian side has sent it. There are many things we can give in. See, there is going to be pain no matter what we do with Trump. Even if we kiss the ring, look at the story that was broken in our newspaper today of the Vietnamese rice farmers. We want that to happen to us? Really? Do you think any Indian politician can afford that?
No, I actually think this is a cross-party consensus. Tomorrow, you know, this could have been a different government. There are some red lines. There always have been in tariff negotiations. Trade, they would have penalized China differently. This is about geopolitics. This is about egos. This is about people management. It's about many other things. Also, it's also about trade. It's not only about trade. Time for last comments, General Dua. From a security challenge perspective, Army Chief over the weekend says the next war can take place soon. We have to prepare accordingly. From a security perspective, General Dua, what do you see on the horizon?
From a security perspective, a country like India, which has unresolved borders on both sides and a volatile internal situation, we should never let our guard down. And more so, like I said earlier, when earlier such speech we had Pahalgam. Now when he makes a speech like this, we must view it with caution. Never take your adversary lightly, and I am sure our security apparatus, our armed forces and other defense production, everyone else must be gearing up for the worst. We must continue to watch this issue from a security perspective, watch and generate intelligence and be on our guard, because having, the way Pakistan has started with the recently found, President Trump's encouragement, whether he takes encouragement from Israel, I don't know. But we have to keep our guard up, and we must be prepared for all eventualities.
And in a way, we pulled back, I don't know, but pulled back into a long phase of conflict with Pakistan. Some of us have seen those years. If you go back to a decade plus ago, at the time when General Dua and others were in the valley, those were tense, tough years, and there were long phases of conflict with some phases of quiet, long phases of conflict with some phases of quiet. And we may be re-entering that phase, I don't know. Last thoughts, where do we go from here, Kushan?
Yeah, we should play one more cricket match.
Bizarre. Utterly bizarre that match.
Shame on the government of India. मुझे तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Shame on the government of India. यहाँ पे हम एक तरफ उनके यूट्यूबर बैन करते हैं, ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं, यहाँ जाते हैं, वहां जाते हैं, और बोलते हैं चल यार क्रिकेट खेलते हैं. It's just bizarre. It's bizarre. My way of looking at it is I'm a glass half full kind of a guy. That people are so perturbed of you means you're doing something right. That you're a rising economy means you're doing something right. That they are intimidated by you means we have something to look forward to. There will be a bumpy road ahead. Just buckle up, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Bumpy road ahead. Ambassador Sinha, could external factors change that? Could deal on Russia, Ukraine change that?
Well, I hope there's a deal on Russia and the Ukraine, because that will certainly ease the situation quite a bit globally. But accepting the fact that our relations with America will be cold for some time, and that, as General Dua mentioned, the security situation is not very good. I think we should also reach out to other countries in the world to ensure that our geopolitical situation is good. There are countries in the region that we can reach out to. I agree with Kushal, reach out to Canada. So there are countries that we should reach out to, because we also need to ensure that our geopolitical situation is also stable, and that the cooling of the relations with the US does not impact other relations, and we remain an important player in the world. We should not withdraw into a shell. Nor should we then just go into sit in China's lap. That will not work. We have to reach out that if Trump wants to ignore us, shun us, well, that's his choice. But we don't have to withdraw from other leaders in the world. I think we should reach out to all of them and show to Trump and to everybody else that we remain a major player in the world.
Absolutely. I think scenario or alternative. I will just end on, the fact is that there are many little ironies. And one little delicious irony is that Trump and Putin will be meeting on India's Independence Day. So I found that quite a little delicious irony. We leave it there. As I say, watch this space. I think it might even get a lot more sort of thaw in the immediate, even with external events going Trump's way. Because Trump also needs a context or an excuse to back off from this battle he seems to have taken on, a very personalized battle that he seems to have taken on with India. Thank you so much, Ambassador Dilip Sinha, to Kushal Mehra, to General Dua. Always a pleasure. To our audience, thank you. See you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Voting Story, robust journalism.